And now we are recording. And this week, I would love for us to talk about female sexual pain disorder.
Mm.
And so I think we don't talk about it enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so what has kind of hurt my heart this week is I think little girls, we all grow up with this dream that we're going to be able to kind of get married and have this wonderful sex life and, or to find somebody we love and really be able to connect with them and to realize that sex is painful for you. The thing that you think you've been dreaming that you were going to enjoy is can be awfully heartbreaking, but it's more than heartbreaking. It's disappointing. It doesn't feel fair. And we don't have, I can't think of any TV show or movie that ever talked about a legitimate sexual pain disorder. Like I know throughout the years there's been what's that word? She's frigid or she's a prude, but I can't think of anywhere where we've seen in pop culture of a woman who had an actual sexual pain disorder. And
Yes,
so
yeah.
can you think of a movie that we ever saw it like?
No, I was thinking in my mind, like, I have never seen that depicted, but what is depicted in media is like maybe something sort of adjacent to that of like, oh, the woman has a deep, dark secret. What is it? She's infertile. This idea that like she's unable to provide, which I think very much plays into the stigma that some women have, that they have a responsibility to carry this sexuality or this fertileness for their partner.
Right? Like, oh my gosh. Oh, that's okay. I don't want to get too excited because that'll put us on a whole nother topic.
Right.
But so my heart really is going out this week for women who realize they have a sexual pain disorder and they didn't even know that was possible. Because you've never seen it on, because unfortunately, most Americans get a lot of their ideas off of TV. So if you've never seen it on TV, you didn't know it was possible, you go to try to have sex and realize that you're in pain for whatever reason, it can feel very lonely and feel very isolating. And I want to talk about, there are some psychosomatic things, definitely. Like some people are psychosomatic. So if you heard your whole life, sex is going to be painful, sex is going to be painful, sex is going to be painful, then when you go to have sex, your body will probably tense up because we tense up when something's going to be painful. So just think if somebody was going to kind of punch you in the arm, you kind of tense for it, right? So we think something's going to be painful, we tense up. And so that is the cause sometimes, just that simple thing. You just heard over and over and over again, it's going to be painful. Then your body is prepared for this to be painful. So it's going to protect itself, which means it's going to clamp down and clench up muscles and make it painful and then it is painful. So now you have a feedback loop that's reinforcing itself. I thought it was going to be painful. It was painful. Now I know it's going to be painful, so it's going to keep being painful. So a sex therapist can definitely help in that area. But what I also want to talk about is when there is like a physical problem. People are so familiar with nerve damage with our teeth, with our gums, how it can like radiate over our whole face. Nerve damage in our neck, that can affect our back, our arms, our legs, the functioning of our body. Nerve damage that can cause like carpal tunnel. We never talk about nerve damage when it affects the genital area.
Right.
Yeah. And so there's some very real things that can also, because the clitoris actually has a humongous amount of nerve endings in it.
Right.
And so if a person has any type of nerve damage issues, touch sensitivity issues, then sex may not be pleasurable for them. And that is just a fact. Like that will just be a fact that your body works a little differently than some other bodies. And everybody's body works a little bit differently than somebody else's body, you know? And the older you get, the much, much, much more aware of that you are for that. And so for those women, I want you guys to know, and then Mary Hannah, I'm gonna let you jump in and say, like maybe how would you treat women and some treatment options. But for those women, I want you to know that there is hope, that we are gonna probably have to redo the way you have sex. Like it won't be like on TV, but the way they have it on TV is not really anatomically correct. So, and so that's a good thing. But I just want you to know that there's hope. And so I think not this week, but last week I had a couple in my office and they had been struggling with the problem for 4 years. And I just was like, oh God, I wish you would have found us sooner. Like you've been in pain for 4 years and you didn't have to be. Like you didn't have to be. So if anybody's hearing this or is out there and sex is painful or hurtful or not working like you think it should, call us and come in now, you know? And so our most expensive therapist on the staff is what, $450 for an initial 1.5 hour. All right, $450 for you to get answers and to keep you out of 3 years worth of pain is worth it. It is worth it. And so, because like 3 years, because this is the other thing about pain is it's a physical pain, but then it becomes this mental anguish that we can't connect. Every other couple, they're not, but every other couple is able to do this simple thing, and we can't do it. And then on top of like the romantic kind of anguish that's in there, then because what a lot of people do is then they go inward. I'm broken.
Right.
Which once you start kind of I'm broken, then you start thinking you're broken, and then it just becomes so layered and heavy. And you guys, it doesn't have to be like that. I want to keep that from happening. Like I just feel like there's just people out there who are suffering in silence, and you don't have to suffer in silence. So okay, that's my big thing for today. So Mary Hannah, jump in wherever you want to jump in and talk to us.
Yeah, well, 100% agree that it is something that can create such shame, such isolation because like we just aren't talking about it enough. There is not enough an education around it.
Right.
And it's this idea that it's like you said, it's something that you should just be able to do. You should be able to enjoy. Like I frequently grew up hearing adults around me say, you have your whole life to figure it out, making it like one, giving me no information,
Right.
and two, making it sound as if it's this like incredibly easy thing. Like, I don't think you'll need me to tell you how to do it. And it's like, that doesn't, there's
That
so much
doesn't
more than
give me
that. Like,
information, right.
yeah, and it's like, yes, like sex is incredibly fun and can be a very creative moment, an intimate moment to have with your partner. And also, like you said, no one has normal sex, and you are not missing out on normal sex with your partner, and you are not abnormal, you know? Like that's something that like I I want to be able to tell women everywhere of like there
Yeah.
is no normal.
Right.
Um, and I feel like also too, that is what keeps people from coming in for treatment is like this idea of like, well, we shouldn't have to have someone tell us how to do this simple thing that we should know how to
Right.
do on our own. But it's like, but you just don't have the information to accessible or available or ready for you to tell you like what may be happening with your body or how other like millions of other couples have experienced the same thing.
Yeah.
And that can be a really amazing moment too when like you're told something that completely contradicts what you've been told.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, like that feeling of like, oh, I guess like other people go through
Mhm.
this a lot.
Mhm. Yeah. So in my office, and I got to bring this book home so I can I can read it to you guys one day. But there's a Barry McCarthy book called Rekindling Desire. And there's a paragraph in that book that I have almost all my couples read, because it says, so it starts off, should every sexual encounter be satisfying and enjoyable? And then he says no. And so it was in a long-term committed relationship that about 50% of the sexual encounters are going to be mutually satisfying for both partners. Then he says 20-25% is going to be enjoyable for one person and just okay for the other. And then another 20-25% is going to be okay with for one person, and the other person's just coming along for the ride, like just because you wanted to do this. And then he also says 5-15% of sexual encounters, long-term committed couples, are going to be failures. Like, we're just going to have days where it just doesn't work, and that's okay. And so I have a good amount of clients, when they read that and they get those new numbers in their head, like, oh, they just are relieved, because that's about what they've been living, but they had this expectation that every sexual encounter was supposed to be mind-blowingly amazing. And I don't know why we do that, because no other area in our lives do we do that. And it's making me think of, like, right now, chefs or cooks. And so even the best chefs, like Bobby Flay, they'll tell you, like, it's just some days it just didn't come out right. I tried something new and it blew up, or I added too much salt, or like it just didn't come out right. And we allow for that in every other area, but people have this expectation around sex that it's supposed to be fireworks every single time. And I also want women to know, most women have to learn how to have an orgasm, because there's a time factor in there, a relaxation factor in there, and then just kind of an allowing it to happen. You got to kind of learn how to do all of that. For a lot of men, they have orgasms by accident almost. And so women will compare themselves to men a lot and then feel less than.
Yeah.
Another thing is, and I know I probably said this before, but it bears repeating. In my original training, Masters in Johnson, like 15 years ago, our training taught us that it takes women about 20 minutes to have an orgasm, or to reach that phase where they're ready to have an orgasm. The latest research I've heard is it takes 20 to 45 minutes. So it's even gotten longer,
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's cultural changes, or maybe the original research was maybe not accounting for something, or not. But I think I've heard so many women say, it takes me too long, or I'm nervous that my partner's getting anxious with me, or bored with me, or not wanting to do. And so, have that conversation with your partner, please. I literally I was in a seminar. It was sex. I've done so many trainings over the years, but anyway, whole point is, this one particular guy was like, okay, I'm gonna, like, everybody, like, clutch your pearls. So he was like, I can eat pussy all day and all night. Like, I can literally do it for hours. It's like, I just love it. And I think every woman in the seminar was just like, oh. And I've also had a couple of male clients, when we've talked about maybe like oral sex or something, or just really appreciating the woman's body. And they've been like, yeah, I just want to touch it and lick it sometimes. And so I say that because women, we can get in our heads a lot about, oh, they won't like this, they won't like this, they won't like this, they won't like this, they won't like that. And have the conversation. Just have the conversation. You may have that guy who's like, it is my dream to do this for like 8 hours. And so therefore 45 minutes is nothing for him. Um,
Mhm.
and we can look at all the different ways to do that, but be okay that it takes as long as it takes for
Mm.
you.
Mhm.
And if I could like just let every woman know, like just be okay that it takes as long as it takes, and it's
Right.
okay, like, and
Mhm.
enjoy the process. And I think with that, I would want all couples talking about what is good sex and what makes a good
Mm.
sexual experience. Um,
Mhm.
because for a lot of couples, the penis going in the vagina doesn't necessarily make a good sexual experience.
Mhm.
Oh, a lot of people will say how into me they were, did they smile, laugh with glee when I touched them? Like, was I able to make them happy? Were they happy with me? Did they want me? And so these all these other factors that could make a great sexual experience. And so please don't just get caught up on, did we have an orgasm, and did the penis go into the vagina?
Right.
And I understand this is a very heterosexual topic. And so for people in same-sex couples, same things apply, you know?
Mhm.
What are we basing a good sexual experience on? Have you had that conversation with your partner so you both are really aware of what the other person is needing to have a satisfying sexual experience? Okay,
Mhm.
I get
And
it.
too, like, and my mind goes to of like women that experience like any sort of pain during like intercourse or any sort of like insertion or anything is like getting through that pain, which is very doable and very treatable, which feels like
Mhm,
kind of that's like the first incredible revelation to a lot of clients. And then secondly, discovering what sexuality means for you, and like I
yeah.
feel like there are some clients out there that they're coming to therapy to get this figured out because they feel like they're failing their partner and
Mm,
like I'm failing to provide something for my partner, or like I want kids one day, things like that. And it's like, okay, so what does it look like once like your pain is like solved slash managed?
mhm,
Where is that sexuality coming from? And how do you feel about your body? And how are you able to get back in touch with that sense of sexuality? Because
mhm.
I've definitely had clients where like they feel very out of touch with that because even
Yeah.
just like experiencing pleasure kind of takes them to that zone of like ways that they fail, in
Mhm,
terms of like fail, I don't give my
mhm,
partner this experience.
mhm. Definitely so. Definitely, definitely, definitely so.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and so many partners are so great in understanding.
Mm.
Like there's some really great understanding, supportive partners out there, and they can be even greater and even more understanding when there's a conversation. Yeah.
Yes,
And so
absolutely.
one of the things that I've noticed throughout the years, especially with my supportive partners, is they just want to know that you want to do something with them. You don't necessarily have
Mhm,
to. Like it's one thing for you to have a pain disorder and say like, "Hey, I want to. Let's figure out what we can do. It's really painful for me, but I want to."
mhm,
It's another than being like, "I don't want to. I don't want to at all. Don't ever touch me. Don't ever do." You know. And that's really hard for a partner to be supportive in that case. You know,
mhm,
how dare you want that from me because you know it's painful for me. Um, because who else are they supposed to want it from? And it's hard to cut off desire,
mhm,
especially when it's right there in front of you. And so just please, everybody be patient with your partners both ways. And
mm.
then partners with pain, make sure you're being verbal and communicating it. And a huge part of that is, I need you to know that everybody has something that they have to deal with, overcome, and this is your.
Mm.
And so as soon
Yeah,
as you can come to acceptance of, okay, this is my thing.
yeah,
This is my thing. And we're
yeah,
gonna do it. And definitely every relationship, every marriage is gonna have a huge thing that has to be worked through and overcome. And
mhm,
so if you the Gottman research, and Mary Hannah, you may be a little bit more familiar with the numbers. I feel like he said like every couple has at least one perpetual problem that's never gonna go away.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, and the number is like 69% of problems will never be solved.
Right. There we go. Thank you. So knowing that you can have a wonderful, happy, satisfying relationship and we not
Mhm,
solve the problem. And
mhm.
so what happens in that case is there needs to be a lot of communication and a lot of agreement. You know,
Yeah.
if you have one partner who's messy and one person who's like super OCD neat, y'all are probably never gonna agree on things. But
Mhm.
coming to agreements of, okay, we got to keep the living room clean, but I can let you keep the bedroom messy, or I'll keep the living room clean for you, but and so finding these, how do we live together? How do we create a a um a new, maybe even common value system that works for both of us, that
Mm.
we can come to
Mhm,
agreements around. And
mhm.
also, because we're out there with Gottman, I just want to make sure people know if there are enough positives in a relationship, you can overcome most or all of the negative. If
Mhm.
there are enough positives. And so really making sure that we're leaning into those positives. So um affirming your partner, listening to your partner, making sure you guys are working on building the trust, which is,
Mhm.
built and rebuilt all the time with just
Mhm.
small, little intimate moments and leaning in, paying attention to each other, listening to each other, being each other's biggest
Verbalizing
cheerleader,
gratefulness.
verbalizing gratefulness. That would be great.
Mhm.
Oh, I think I might do that today in all my relationships. Does everybody
Yeah,
else
it works for everyone.
yeah.
Yeah.
It really does. So, okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, winding down, Mary Hannah, what do you want women to
Mm.
know?
One thing that I wanted to even put out there
Mhm,
is you can always get creative, and, like, even with,
mhm,
like, communicating, you can get creative in the way that you communicate. Like, you can choose to write a letter to your partner. One exercise, that you taught me that I always really love the idea of, and clients have responded to in the past is, like, writing a letter to your vagina, right? And, like, what would that look like? And, like, to women listening, like, what would your letter have in it? Is it
yeah,
someone that's like an enemy, an old friend, a stranger? Like, maybe it's something that is so unknown or so feared that even like confronting that of like, how do you view that part of your body? How is it different than other parts of your body that you do view and are so familiar and comfortable with? And how enlightening that process could be of where you
right,
stand.
right.
And then, like, you can write a letter to your partner. You could do a voice memo to your partner. Like,
Mhm,
there's so many different ways that you
yeah,
can allow yourself to do what you need to do in this moment, other than like, "Oh, I really don't want to have that conversation right now." And like, don't be afraid to make that space for yourself, and address it. And I promise you, it will be so worth it to address it.
think so.
Um, and you'll feel so much less alone, and you'll feel so much more whole and more healthy and likely satisfied with yourself and with your marriage and your relationship.
Definitely so, definitely so. I think I wanna echo what you just said, like, women, you aren't alone.
Mhm.
You, um one of the YouTube videos, Laura Babito, I watch and have my clients watch all the time. She says, like, "You are more normal than you know."
Mhm.
And I just love that. And so women, I think I want you guys to know you're more normal than you know. And then I want you to personally take on being this fabulous sexual person, no matter where you are in your journey and walk,
Mm.
you know?
Mhm.
And so if you say like, I I own my sexuality and I'm going to do what I need to do to have the best sex life that I can have,
Mhm.
in a way that works for me and my body at any age. Because even though we're talking about sexual pain, and I was specifically talking about like when there's like vaginal pain and vulval pain today, if you have back pain, that may keep you from having sexual experience.
Mm.
And so, or any type of like a skin cancer, where your skin is going through something, or any type of what's that skin rash they always
like psoriasis, or yes.
psoriasis, where maybe having your skin touch certain surfaces is painful. And so there's so many things that could keep you from having a great sex life if you let it. But if you make the decision, I'm not going to let it, then I'm going to figure out how to overcome this and have these great sexual experiences with my partner that I know we can have. That's the right attitude. That's
Yes.
right. That would be
Yeah,
it. So,
absolutely. You are more resilient than you think that you are.
yeah. Oh, I love that. Yay. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your time today, Mary Hannah.
Absolutely.
Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.